went in appeal against the Honorable Judge's order, clearly reflecting a bias against Hindu Dharam, against Sanatan Dharam, clearly reflecting an anti-Hindu mindset, in fact, showing the hatred that Mr. Stalin, his son Mr. Udaynidhi, and the DMK party and their friends in the India Alliance have against Hindu Dharma. Their mindset was also reflected by their impeachment motion against Justice Swaminathan. This impeachment motion has been submitted by different members of Parliament of the India Alliance, including Ms. Priyanka Vadra Gandhi, including leaders of the Samajwadi Party, Dharmendra Yadav, Dimple Yadav, leader of NCP Sharad Pawar Group, Supriya Sule, leaders of Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray, Mr. Arvind Sawant, senior leaders and members of Parliament of DMK, including Mr. Raja, who are all at the forefront of this anti-Hindu effort, and they are trying to intimidate the judiciary by filing this impeachment motion and making all false allegations against Honorable Justice G.R. Swaminathan. Because of a judgment, they have called him anti-secular. Because of the judgment, they have alleged falsely that he showed favoritism to somebody. Because of this judgment, they have falsely alleged that there was favoritism to advocates from a particular community. And they have also made the ridiculous allegation against the judiciary of political bias or favoring a particular political ideology. This shows, friends, that the so-called people who claim to uphold the Constitution are intimidating the judiciary so that anybody who gives a judgment which they do not like, they will intimidate them with actions such as this impeachment motion. Today, a division bench of the Honorable High Court, Madurai bench of the Madras High Court, Justices G. Jayachandran and Justice K. Ramakrishnan, have on the Thiruparankundaram Deepastambam issue given conclusive directions that this is an age-old practice, that the dharam and the sentiments of the local people, which has been going on for centuries altogether, should be respected. The Deepathun festival should be permitted to be carried out. And they have clearly lifted the veil from the DMK government, from the leaders of the DMK. They have clearly shown that the DMK and the India Alliance is anti-Hindu. They have clearly accepted that this is an ancient and historical practice and directed that the lamp be lit at the hilltop. Friends, the state government's argument about possible law and order problems has also been totally debunked by the Honorable High Court, because apprehension of law and order was an imaginary ghost created by the state authorities as per the judgment. The Honorable High Court has held, and I quote, apprehension of law and order was an imaginary ghost created by state authorities. After all, there have never been any problems. It is only the appeasement politics of the India alliance, trying to appease members of one community, trying to curry favor from the community who has a small dargah over there and who oppose the practice of the centuries old practice of Dipotam. Their reality has been exposed. The Honorable High Court has said, and I quote, that it may happen, that is the law and order problem, it may happen only if such a disturbance is sponsored by the state itself. They have given a very, very big indictment against the state government and their thinking and their approach, and clearly shown that the state government of DMK and Congress, the India Alliance government in Tamil Nadu, may themselves sponsor a disturbance to support their anti-Hindu agenda. Very clearly, this is a party and a set of parties in the India Alliance who, when it doesn't suit them, an order of the court doesn't suit them, they attack the constitutional authority of the court, they put impeachment motions in parliament against them, they cast aspersions on judges and their impartiality and their upholding the constitution. When the election commission doesn't give a favorable judgment to suit their interest, the election commission becomes bad, and they threaten them that if they ever come to power, which seems a very remote possibility, but they threaten them that we will change the law retrospectively and come after you. This kind of anti-India, anti-constitutional activities of the India Alliance has been exposed by the Honorable Judge today, the judges today in their order, and I think it is important that the people of India recognize and respect that institutions and constitutional authorities are today protecting the constitution, protecting the rights and freedoms to pursue one's religion freely and fairly without obstruction, and any effort by anti-Hindu parties of the India Alliance, by the DMK, by Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin, by Mr. MK Stalin, by the DMK and Congress government in Tamil Nadu, will not be permitted by the people. It is a wake-up call for the people of Tamil Nadu. ये देश के लोगों के लिए एक चेतावनी है कि जागो, बचो इस प्रकार की सोच जो इंडिया अलायंस, जो कांग्रेस पार्टी, जो डीएमके, जो समाजवादी पार्टी, जो तृणमूल कांग्रेस, इस टाइप की पार्टीज की जो सोच है, इससे देश के लोगों को बचना पड़ेगा. ये चेतावनी फिर एक बार हमारे सामने आई है. ये देश तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति कभी स्वीकारित नहीं करेगा. ये देश हर एक को सम्मानित करता है, हर एक धर्म को सम्मान देता है, और ऐसी पार्टियां जो हिंदू धर्म के खिलाफ काम करती हैं, जो अब कहती हैं हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे, अभी भी उनको ये स्वीकृत नहीं हुआ. इतना बड़ा कोर्ट के जजमेंट के बाद, डिवीजन बेंच के जजमेंट के बाद, उनकी आलोचना होने के बाद डीएमके और कांग्रेस पचा नहीं पा रही है कि हिंदू धर्म की विजय हुई है, उनकी आस्था की विजय हुई है, ये पचा नहीं पा रही है और उनकी तुष्टीकरण उनको सुप्रीम कोर्ट तक जाने के लिए बाध्य करती है। मैं घोर निंदा करता हूं इस प्रकार की सोच का। आई कंडेम द इंडिया अलायंस, आई कंडेम द डीएमके led by MK Stalin and Udaynidhi. I condemn the Congress party, Samajwadi party and other Uddhav Thackeray ji and Sharad Pawar ji for their anti-Hindu thinking, and I'm sure the people of India will give them a befitting response at every single opportunity, just like they gave them a response in Bihar, just like they gave a resounding victory to the BJP and our allies in the NDA in Maharashtra Nagar Nigam elections. In every single opportunity, the anti-Hindu forces will be given a fitting response by the people of India. Thank you. हमने तो बार बार उजागर किया है, महाराष्ट्र में अब सभी लोगों को समझ में आ गया है कि उद्धव ठाकरे जी एंटी हिंदू है, हिंदुत्व के खिलाफ है। उद्धव ठाकरे जी ने बाला साहेब ठाकरे के हर उद्देश्य को छोड़ दिया है, हिंदुत्व को त्याग दिया है, और अब चाहे वो उद्धव ठाकरे जी हो, चाहे उनके नए मित्र मनसे महाराष्ट्र नवनिर्माण सेना के राज ठाकरे जी हो, चाहे शरद पवार जी और उनकी पारिवारिक पार्टी हो, ये हिंदुत्व के खिलाफ है। और महाराष्ट्र की जनता जो छत्रपति शिवाजी से प्रेरणा लेती है, जो संभाजी महाराज के दिखाए हुए हिंदुत्व के प्रति श्रद्धा और आस्था रखती है, वो कदापि उद्धव ठाकरे, राज ठाकरे, शरद पवार, सुप्रिया सुले जैसे हिंदू विरोधी पार्टियों का कभी समर्थन नहीं करेंगे। अब ये इंडिया अलायंस के लोग इस प्रकार का व्यक्तिगत माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के खिलाफ जो बयान देते हैं, उसका हर बार उनको भुगतान मिला है, जनता ने जवाब दिया है। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है भारत की जनता इस प्रकार के विवादित बयान और धमकियों से डरती भी नहीं है और मुंह तोड़ जवाब इस प्रकार के हिंदुत्व के खिलाफ सोच रखने वाले लोगों को देगी।
संजय शर्मा सर, आप तमिलनाडु के चुनाव प्रभारी भी हैं, लेकिन एफआईआर का सबसे जो जबरदस्त विरोध हुआ है वो पश्चिम बंगाल के बाद तमिलनाडु में दिखाई दे रहा है। तृणमूल नेता स्टालिन जो इस तरह से विरोध कर रहे हैं एफआईआर पर,
मुझे लगता है एसआईआर तो एक सामान्य प्रक्रिया है जो हर कुछ वर्षों में होती है। एसआईआर के माध्यम से जो लोग भारत के नागरिक नहीं है, जो लोगों की मृत्यु हो गई है या जिनका डबल वोट है, कई बार लोग प्रवासी होते हैं, दूसरे प्रदेश में जाके दूसरी जगह पे जाके काम करते हैं, उनका वोट अगर दो जगह हो जाए तो स्वाभाविक रूप से एक जगह कटना चाहिए। तो ये तो इलेक्शन कमीशन अपने दायित्व का निर्वहन कर रही है। जो लोग इसका विरोध करते हैं उन्होंने जनता को जवाब देना पड़ेगा कि क्या वो इस प्रकार के वोटों के कारण जीत के आते थे पहले, और इसीलिए बिहार में जहां इतना उन्होंने विरोध किया एसआईआर का, उसके बाद जनता ने उनको मुंह तोड़ जवाब देके हराया। जो ऐतिहासिक विजय भारतीय जनता पार्टी और जेडीयू और हमारे एनडीए के चिराग पासवान जी उपेंद्र कुशवाहा जी, जितेंद्र राम मांझी जी, हमारा पूरा एनडीए गठबंधन को जो ऐतिहासिक विजय बिहार में मिली है, ये स्पष्ट दिखलाता है कि भारत की जनता संवैधानिक प्रक्रियाओं के साथ है और ऐसे जो इंडिया अलायंस के गठबंधन के पार्टियों की भारत विरोधी और हिंदू विरोधी सोच है, इसको कभी भारत में पनपने नहीं देंगे.
So that was Piyush Goyal, who was in fact speaking regarding the Deepam verdict by the Madras High Court, and he has stated that this is a win for the Hindu sentiment, and the High Court has also stated that this issue should not be politicized. Now, after the Deepam verdict by the Madras High Court, we are now learning that the Stalin government will challenge this ruling in the Supreme Court. So, even though we now know that the High Court has stated entirely that the Deepam has to be in fact lit at top of that hillock, the Thiruparamkundaram hillock. Now we are learning that the Stalin government will challenge this Deepam verdict in the Supreme Court. Remember that the Madras High Court today in the morning upheld a single judge's order allowing the lighting of the Kartigai Deepam at the stone pillar on the lower peak of the hillock. Now, the entire controversy erupted because a lot of political voices started speaking out on this issue, and this hillock also hosts a Hindu temple and a dargah. So, it has both these sentiments attached to it. We are in fact now moving on to some other stories that's coming in internationally from our neighbor Bangladesh. A 38-year-old Hindu businessman who was also the acting editor of a local newspaper was shot dead by unidentified assailants in Bangladesh's Jashore region on Monday evening. The attacker shot him in the head several times and escaped from the area soon after the attack. It was not immediately clear if there was a communal angle to the killing, but it comes against the backdrop of multiple crimes against Hindus in the Muslim majority country. In the past 3 weeks, 5 people from Bangladesh's Hindu community, including this case, have been killed in separate violent incidents. The 38-year-old deceased has been identified as Rana Pratap Bairagi, a resident of Arua village in Keshapur, Upazila of Jeshore. Bairagi owned an ice making factory in Kopalia Bazar in Moni Rampur. He also worked as the acting editor of a local newspaper, Dainik BD Khabar, published from Narel. The businessman had 1 case registered against him at the Abhaynagar police station and 3 cases at the Keshapur police station. On Monday, he was at his ice factory in Kopalia market when around 5:45 p.m. 3 attackers arrived on a motorcycle. They called him out of the factory and took him to an alley on the western side of the market. The attackers then shot him in the head from close range and fled the area immediately. He died at the spot soon after the shooting. Fear and panic spread across the Kopalia market and nearby areas. A witness said that the attackers came on a motorcycle called Rana out of his factory and then led him to a nearby alley. Following a brief altercation, they fired several shots at him, killing him on the spot. Now, Moni Rampur police has stationed officer in charge, Mohammad Rasulullah Khan, has said that the motive behind the killing is still unclear. He added that an investigation is underway to identify those involved and legal action is being taken in the matter. This was first of 2 Hindu killings in 24 hours. Rana Pratap Bairagi and Saratmani Chakraborty, 2 Hindu men, were killed by unidentified assailants within hours of each other in Bangladesh, amid a deteriorating law and order situation which has created widespread fear ahead of the upcoming elections. In both the cases, unidentified assailants came to both men's places of work and attacked them fatally. On Monday, a 40-year-old Hindu grocery shop owner who was also allegedly killed in Bangladesh. Sharat Mani Chakraborty was reportedly attacked with sharp weapons in Narsingdi district around 10 p.m. on Monday, and the Federal reported that Chakraborty was at his grocery shop in the Charsindur Bazaar in the Palash Upazila near of Charsingdi when unidentified assailants suddenly attacked him with sharp weapons and critically injured him. At least 6 Hindu men have been killed in Bangladesh in the past month. To discuss this topic further, joining us on the broadcast is Manan Dwivedi, Foreign Affairs expert. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. A very good afternoon to you. So, firstly, I would like to ask your observation on this entire situation. The people and the administration in Bangladesh is not relating it to a communal incident. They are not saying that this is Hindus being Hindu minorities being attacked over there in the country. Do you also view it in the same way, or something that is happening in a country which is on the edge and hence all people are being attacked over there, or there is a communal angle to this entire the killings that we are seeing in Bangladesh currently?
Well, thanks for calling me on the show. The idea, the thing that occurs to my mind right now happens to be the antecedents which have occurred in Bangladesh in the last 6 months and 1 year. Muhammad Yunus came with a very flamboyant, with a do-gooder and philanthropic agenda. That kind of a positive and affirmative mandate he had. But the kind of hobnobbing that they have done with lethal organizations like Mujahideen, Jamaat-e-Mujahideen, which happens to be one of the key radical and extremist and fundamentalist organizations in Bangladesh. I personally feel the local people might know better, but this is how we at India, we in Bharat, the people of the country, the Hindu majority of the country, that is how we look at it. Because if we go into the past, we are going to find that the Sri Krishna Association, which has a lot of influence in the Bangladeshi society and polity, and is very popular and known for its unconventional but very religious and universal peaceful ethos, that was targeted by Muhammad Yunus regime around 1 year back. I am referring to the incident of Chinmay Anand, where they said they alleged that he removed the Bangladeshi national flag with all due respect to the Nishan, and he replaced it with a saffron flag. So it might be a narrative in the making, but if you see it, then the minorities have been more regularly attacked, tormented, and suppressed in Bangladesh since the fall of the democratic regime in Dhaka. I personally feel that there happens to be a tirade against the minorities, which will actually wash off all the good offices and positive air that Bangladesh 2 years back was enjoying all across South Asia or all across the global polity. I will also say that since the regime change has not been good for Bangladesh, which has been orchestrated by the deep state in America. I am not saying President Donald Trump or Republicans, but the larger deep state in America and the West, and that has not augured well for the general image, the visage, and the upkeep of playing for keeps in Bangladesh. This is one thing which occurs to me. And apart from that, I am no constitutional expert, I am not a legal hand, but still, if we look at the basic precepts of the Bangladeshi constitution, then I may refer here to Article 21 and 28 of the, what you call,
Right.
the Bangladeshi constitution, where we can see that it completely directs the government and the people in Dhaka, in Bangladesh, to have a secular orientation, where there need not be any discrimination and exploitation in the name of caste, color, creed, or any sort of linguistic or
Right.
ethnic criteria. So
Right.
that is very clearly mentioned in the Bangladeshi constitutions in Article 21 and 28.
All
But
right.
if we look at the founding clause If I remember it correctly, if the clause 2 of the Bangladeshi constitution, then it also dedicates the entire people and the entire establishment of Dhaka to being an Islamic state.
All
Now we
right.
have got so many good Muslim friends, and we are look at the country. We had Abdul Kalam sir as our president of the country, the first
All right, sir.
education
All
minister.
right. I'm
So
sorry
that
I have to interrupt you, but that's all the time that we have on the broadcast right now. In fact, we're wrapping up this bulletin and slipping into a short break.
MDH कसूरी मेथी लाजवाब है
स्वाद और सुगंध इसकी
लाजवाब है
अगर MDH कसूरी मेथी नहीं डाला
तो खाली हाथ मलते रह जाओगे।
एक एक पत्ता हाथ से चुना, स्वाद और सुगंध जगाए कई गुना।
MDH
माघ मेले की भव्यता और पवित्रता का एक बार फिर विश्व देखेगा नया स्वरूप। करोड़ों श्रद्धालुओं के लिए परंपराएं वही और सुविधाएं नई, जहां पग पग पर आस्था और दिव्यता की मिलेगी अनुभूति। जब संगम की रेती पर संत महात्माओं की होगी उपस्थिति, 6 पावन पर्व स्नानों में अखाड़ों के संतों का समागम, पूरे विश्व में माघ मेले की महानता का होगा वर्णन। यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के मार्गदर्शन और माननीय मुख्यमंत्री योगी आदित्यनाथ जी के नेतृत्व में माघ मेला 2026 आस्था की लहराती पताका, विकास की नई गाथा, काम दमदार, डबल इंजन सरकार।
Welcome back. You're watching Newsx. The top story that we are looking at comes in the Karur stampede. And amid the investigation into the Karur stampede case, TVK chief actor Vijay has been summoned by the Central Bureau of Investigation for questioning on January 12th. Vijay has been asked to appear before the CBI headquarters in Delhi. Remember, on September 27th last year, at least 41 people lost their lives and 110 others were injured in a stampede that occurred during a public meeting of the TVK party in Karur, which was attended by the party chief Vijay. Joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Belly Thomas with more on this. Belly, the TVK chief Vijay has now been summoned by the CBI on January 12th. Take us through the details of what you're picking up on.
Shivani, the Central Bureau of Investigation has issued a summons to the actor, politician and Tamil Vetri Kazhagam founder Vijay to appear on January 12th in connection with the Karur stampede case. This stampede occurred on 27 September 2025 during a TVK political rally in Veluswamipuram, Karur district, when a massive crowd surge suddenly turned deadly, and this incident totally claimed around 41 lives and injured around 110 people who were later admitted to the hospitals. This sudden crowd crush had happened when supporters gathered in large numbers for the Vijay's address in Karur district, and the CBI issuing summons to actor Vijay comes after the probe was initiated by the Central Bureau of Investigation agency and who had earlier questioned and recorded statements of top TVK functionaries as a part of its inquiry into the tragedy. Initially, the Tamil Nadu government had opposed CBI investigation into the incident and had instead constituted a special investigation team to probe into this case. The state had also argued before the court that the SIT was sufficient and better placed to investigate into the incident, citing law and order being a state subject. However, the Supreme Court had transferred the investigation to the Central Bureau of Investigation, observing that the Karur stampede had shaken the national conscience and warranted an independent and an impartial probe. And the top court also declined to accept the state's plea to continue with the SIT and allowed the central agency to take on with the investigation. And since taking over, the CBI has been examining permissions granted for the event, crowd management measures, police deployment and emergency response, while also recording statements from TVK functionaries and officials. Back to you, Shiva.
Right, Belly. Also, any other updates that we are getting with regards to the investigation that is currently underway in this case?
As of now, what we from the sources probing into the CBI officials probing into the Stampede case, there have been questioning sessions done of several TVK leaders, including the office bearers of the Karur districts, and they had been also doing a mapping of that particular area as to ascertain how much of crowd had come, and was there any instance of getting people from other districts as well, that was organized by the TVK party organizers as such. So the investigations are going on into that angle, where the CBI officials are probing on to how much is the population of that particular district, and how many people had turned up at that venue at that period of time when TVK chief Vijay was addressing that mass gathering. And they are also probing into as to who mobilized those crowd, and how many people, like the head counts of those people are being probed into, and with the number of people and the area that it was organized would be a crucial thing in this probing, and based on that, the questioning is being done with several TVK officials, Shivani.
All right. Thank you so much, Belly, for all those updates. We are shifting our attention now towards the markets, where silver has reached its all-time high. According to the India Bullion and Jewellers Association, the price of 1 kilogram of silver has increased by Rs 7,725 to reach Rs 2,44,788. Previously, its price was Rs 2,37,063 rupees per kilogram. Meanwhile, the price of 10 grams of 24 carat gold has increased by Rs 741 to reach Rs 1,36,909 rupees. Earlier, it was at Rs 1,36,168. Gold had reached its all-time high of Rs 1,38,161 on December 29, 2025. Let's now take a look at the comparison of silver prices, because it's seeing a lot of fluctuations in its prices, and today we are seeing that it's reached a high. So let's look at the comparison of what its price was today and yesterday. So today the silver price comparison is 2,53,000 rupees, and yesterday it was 2,42,000. So you can clearly see the amount of difference, almost a 9,000 difference that was there. And if we compare it to a week ago as well, the silver had seen a surge and then it plummeted again. So a week ago it was 2,51,000, not a lot of difference from today's prices, which was 2,53,000. However, if we look at prices compared to a month ago, today it's 2,53,000 and a month ago it was 2,10,000 rupees for silver. So this is clearly how a silver is seen rising. And if we look at the price comparison across India, in Delhi it's 2,53,000, in Mumbai it's 2,53,000, and in Bengaluru it is 2,48,000. So in Bengaluru it's a slight a bit less. In Chennai, however, it has surged to 2,71,000, and in Kolkata it is 2,53,000, which seems to be the ground stable price that it has across many cities. In fact, let me go across to Dr. Sharat Kohli, senior economist, who is joining us on the broadcast to discuss this rise and fall of silver. But first, let me introduce you to some facts that the silver market has been relatively tight in late 2025, and it's driven by deep structural supply deficits. I believe if Dr. Kohli is back on the line with us, we can go across to him. Dr. Kohli, we want to understand the reason behind silver's rally right now. We saw that it rose last week as well, but then it plummeted and plummeted by a lot, sir. However, today we are again seeing a gain. It's reached its all-time high. And do you think this is only because it's being fueled by the structural demand? You have been mentioning how silver is being used in AI data centers, it's being used in electric vehicles, solar energy. So the demand for it is going higher. But these fluctuations that we are seeing in silver, sir, what do they indicate?
Good afternoon, Shivani, to you and Newsx viewers. Well, we should not forget that there's a lot of speculative trading which happens in silver. And I'll tell you a very interesting aspect of silver, that if you take the silver price, which is right now at between $78 to $79 per ounce, I'm taking the COMEX price. A certain part of this price is because of speculation. And a certain part of this price is because of the real spot demand, the physical silver demand. And as you rightly said, and which I've been saying, that it is needed in solar batteries, it's needed in electric vehicles, it's needed in AI data equipment. So almost half of the silver which is mined, Shivani, it gets consumed. I mean, it goes into these equipments and then it can never be retrieved. It just goes off. And recently what has happened is that China has sort of hoarded a lot of silver. China has put silver in the category of rare earth minerals. So there were already 17 rare earth minerals, Shivani, and now silver, we can count it as 18th rare earth mineral. So it has stocked silver. As a result, it is said that 60% of the silver right now is in the command of China. So there is a shortage being observed both by the industrialists, that is by the data manufacturers, by electric vehicle manufacturers, that silver is not available easily. Add to that the speculative demand. Add to that the ETFs, the exchange traded funds, where there's heavy demand coming from the investors. And another very important aspect, Shivani, which I would like to reveal for the first time on your channel, that we have been constantly saying that gold and silver, they normally follow a similar trend, which is they follow the same factors. But now in the recent weeks, as an investment analyst, I have found that gold and silver are moving up for different reasons, not for similar reasons. Although American attack on Venezuela and capturing, their leader Maduro, that had an impact because it caused certain geopolitical instability. So that had an impact on gold. But silver did not move for that reason. Silver moved because China had hoarded it, because there was a shortage being felt by these manufacturers of components, and there was heavy demand of ETFs. So I think the time has now come, Shivani. I'm making a very important statement on your channel today, that time has come to look at gold and silver as two different precious metal commodities. Normally, we used to count them together. We used to give similar reasons why they were rising and falling. But if you go deeply into it, you will find that there are separate reasons for gold and silver moving, although they are moving in the same direction. But the reasons for their moving may not exactly be similar as they used to be earlier, Shivani.
Right. And Dr. Kohli, I want to understand, since you've been talking about some other factors that might have been, affecting the prices of silver going up, how do you see silver going in 2026, since we have just started out the year? Do you see it being bullish, or do you see the prices rising or correcting themselves? How do you see it?
Well, some volatility is definitely going to be there. You saw that it went up to $79 a few days back, and then it went down to $70, $71. So this kind of volatility will be there intermittently. But overall, the trend is still very bullish. The reason being that until and unless there is an alternate found for the industrial consumption, Shivani, I think there is going to be a crunch of silver. And if countries like China, they start hoarding silver in the manner in which it is doing, I think there is always going to be shortage. I am told, Shivani, that some electronic engineers around the world are trying to work out an alternate to silver for use in these data equipments, which I spoke of, EVs, solar batteries, and AI data equipment. They are working to find an alternate. So now this is a very assumptuous kind of statement. If they find an alternate material for these components and these products, then silver prices will crash. Until and unless there is nothing found as an alternate, you will find silver continue to rise in 2026 also. Although my advice to viewers is please consult your investment and financial advisors. There's always a disclaimer there because investment is a very personalized advice. But then undertone seems bullish, and this, so long as this shortage is there, you will find prices moving. In fact, I am sort of predicting now that silver may touch $100 per ounce. Why I am measuring per ounce is because the price originates and the price discovery is made from America. So we normally count in dollars. Of course, it is converted to kilos in India, and you find it is around 250,000 kilos plus, rupees 250,000 kilo plus. But then undertone is bullish. I am looking at $100 before the end of this year, Shivani, for 2026. As far as silver is concerned, for gold, I am expecting it to reach 2 lakh rupees per 10 grams in the times to come.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kohli, for those valuable insights into this subject. Always a pleasure to have you on the broadcast. We are shifting our focus now to some other news from the national capital. There is a new cab application in town, and it's called Bharat Taxi. The app has now gone live across the NCR region, and for commuters in the capital and neighboring cities, this means one more option when booking rides, a space that has largely been ruled by Uber and Ola for years. The momentum around the app was highlighted by the Ministry of Cooperation, Government of India, from its official X handle. In a recent post, the ministry shared that the Bharat Taxi has already crossed 4 lakh registered customers. In a market where rupees 10 to rupees 100 difference can influence daily decisions, having more apps means more transparency, more comparisons, and ultimately better deals for riders over time. Let me in fact go across to my colleague Aditya Vadhavan, who's joining us live on the broadcast, to understand how the ground pulse is like regarding this new app. Aditya, if I can come across to you, this new app has gone live across the Delhi NCR region. It's called Bharat Taxi. What are the people's reaction to this? How many people are downloading it? Do you think the people are appreciating it as an alternative to Ola and Uber?
Well, definitely, Shivani. Indeed, there is a new sense of optimism among the people of Delhi NCR as far as this Bharat app is concerned, because, now since there have been many occasions in the past, where people didn't have a very good experience with Ola and Uber, and it's a sort of a till before prior to the launch of Bharat app, Ola and Uber have all absolutely monopolized the entire cab booking services across India. So now with the inclusion of this Bharat app, definitely the users are very excited to book their apps via this app, considering the fact, it's a government initiative, and definitely people are looking forward to it as to how this app works, what are its pros and cons, and definitely keeping it in mind. Definitely, people will the choices of people for traveling from one place in Delhi to another is definitely broadened, since now, apart from Ola and Uber, now this Bharat app will also be in use, and people of Delhi will be able to use this app for booking their cabs. And definitely it is a very, very initial stages right now. The people are very optimistic. However, it will take some time, to ascertain what feedback will the people of Delhi give about this app, whether it is positive or negative. This will need to be seen. Shivani, back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Aditya, for all those inputs on that story. We are shifting our attention now towards some other stories that's coming in. Chief Justice of India, Suryakant, has made an important observation on pollution. He spoke about vehicular pollution as well as pollution caused by construction. It is being argued that heavy vehicles and construction activities in the NCR region are contributing to air pollution, while people also need housing. He added that it is necessary to investigate how much construction activities are actually contributing to pollution. He remarked that if the Commission for Air Quality Management, or the CAQM, wants to come forward only after 2 months, it is not acceptable and would be considered a failure in its duties. So, this is what the Chief Justice of India is saying and making an important observation regarding the entire pollution issue. Remember that the Delhi NCR region is currently reeling with the pollution crisis. A lot of AQI, that a lot of regions in the national capital have an AQI in the very poor category. It's difficult to breathe. It's people have been advised to use masks. In fact, when stepping out, all activities, outdoor activities have been restricted because of the polluted air that is currently in the Delhi NCR region. So, the Chief Justice over here, he said that vehicular pollution, as well as he spoken about pollution that has been caused by construction, and it is being argued that heavy vehicles and construction activities in the NCR are contributing to air pollution. And this comes even though people actually need housing. So, construction activities have to continue because they need to provide housing to the citizens of Delhi. So, the Chief Justice of India is saying that it is necessary to investigate how much construction activities are actually contributing to the pollution. So, this is the main crux of the matter. He is also remarking that the CAQM has to come forward before the timeline of 2 months. In fact, joining us live on the broadcast is my colleague Sambhav Sharma with more on this. Sambhav, the Chief Justice of India has made some interesting and important observations regarding pollution and construction activities. Could you take us through the details?
Well, a crucial hearing and the Delhi air pollution case is going on in the top court before the Chief Justice of India as we speak. The matter is going on in the court number 1 of the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court Chief Justice of India Suryakant said the court does not wish to act as super expert, but as a forum to place expert opinions and adopt best practices. And also the CJ has observed that vehicular pollution is currently contributing, one of the major contributors to Delhi air pollution. A court has questioned why the entire blame is placed on farmers, noting that during the pandemic, when the stubble burning was high, Delhi witnessed clear blue skies. So these are the observations made by CJ, and CJ has also stressed that the need for a strong long-term alternative before stopping any activity. So the court is not in the mood to stop or halt any activity, rather asking the Commission for Air Quality Management, amicus curiae, and other people who are in the Supreme Court as lawyers and experts to come up with a long-term approach, long-term solution of this particular problem. And here the CJI is saying that the need is for a strong long-term alternative, and also question why the expert bodies need a court direction to disclose, to come up with certain kind of findings. They can come up with the findings on their own. There is no need for court's direction, and after which for courts getting into this picture, they can come up with the findings which could help the government, help the institutions to frame better policies so that this pollution, problem, the menace in Delhi NCR could be sorted out, the pollution could be reduced in Delhi NCR. And hearing is going on in the Supreme Court, and also remember Chief Justice of India is passing a small order also because as we speak the hearing is going on in court number 1. If I could go through the important points raised by the Chief Justice of India, CJI said that the source,
Right, Sambhav, stay on with us. In fact, let me introduce a piece of information that's also come in right now. The CJI has said that source apportionment is necessary to assess pollution accurately. He also asked authorities to specify the percentage contribution of stubble burning, vehicles and construction work. So, Sambhav, like you were mentioning that the Chief Justice has made this observation that you need to define how much percentage or all these pollutants, how much percentage they are actually causing.
Absolutely. See, it's been around 30 minutes since the hearing is going on in the court number 1 of the Supreme Court on this big issue, big pollution issue. And CJI, since the very beginning of this hearing, today's hearing, is emphasizing not on pinning the blame on certain, factors, but to come up with alternative remedial steps, to come up with expert opinions, and to come up with something out of box rather than pinning a blame on certain factors which contribute to pollution. Here the CGI has said that it is necessary to assess the pollution, this problem accurately, and this is what he said to the Additional Solicitor General Aishwarya Bhati, who is appearing in the Supreme Court, and also to amicus curiae Aparajita Singh, who is also present in the Supreme Court. Also, there are other senior lawyers present in the Supreme Court, and the CJI said that CJI rather asked the authorities to specify the percentage contribution of stubble burning, vehicle and construction work. So CJI is emphasizing on this aspect as to what factor is contributing how much of pollution in Delhi NCR. That should be specific and experts should come up. CJI has also said that many reports are being published in different newspapers and media outlets, but there is a need to come up with expert opinion. Experts should come forward and come up with certain kind of policies, certain kind of framework, certain kind of regulations, so that government could implement those expert opinions and solve this problem. And CJI is also emphasizing on a long-term solution for this particular pollution problem rather than pinning blame on one government or the other. CJI said, we don't want credit of any ideas. We are only seeing issues which an expert body can determine.
Right.
So the hearing, very crucial hearing, is going on in the Supreme Court on this pollution crisis.
Thank you so much, Samba, for all those inputs on that story. With that, we are wrapping up this bulletin, but we'll see you on the other side of this commercial.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त, मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
welcome. You're watching Newsx and I'm Shivani Singh. The top story is coming in from Venezuela. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has vowed to return home as soon as possible. Machado has been in hiding since due to the threat to her life since the 2024 elections in Venezuela. In 2025, Machado was also awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. However, following Maduro's capture, Machado was not endorsed as the presidential candidate by Donald Trump. Joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Ajay Chandyal with more on this. Ajay, we are seeing the Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado coming to the fore now. She had been in hiding since 2024 due to threat to her life, but now she's coming to the fore and she's saying that she will come back home soon.
Yes, she is saying that, after the recent attack, when American forces, they had throat attack and picked up president, she was hiding somewhere, but now she has come open and she says that she will come home soon. But when this is going to happen and one new development will take place, that has to be seen, that who will, take over Venezuela. That is something which people and the world is eyeing on.
Absolutely, Ajay. In fact, stay on with me. We have some more inputs on this story. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has slammed the interim president Delcy Rodriguez, who was sworn in after Nicolas Maduro was captured in a U.S. operation in Caracas, adding that she plans on returning to the country as soon as possible. Machado also vowed to turn Venezuela into the energy hub of the Americas. Openly rejecting the country's interim president, Machado has said that Rodriguez is one of the main architects of torture, persecution, corruption and narco-trafficking. Rodriguez, who was Venezuela's vice president under Maduro, has suggested her willingness to cooperate with Washington. Machado said that Venezuelans have rejected Rodriguez, adding that the voters were on the opposition side. So, all right, I will go across to my Ajay very soon, but remember that this is Venezuela's opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, and remember that she has been in hiding since 2024, and now that Nicolas Maduro has been captured by the US forces, she has actually stated that she will come back to Venezuela and make it the energy hub of the Americas. Remember that she is also stating that the people of the country are not in favor of Delcy Rodriguez, who was the vice president during Maduro's time and now is the interim leader of the country. She is saying that Rodriguez is in fact the person who is the main architects of torture, persecution, corruption and narco trafficking in the country. She is saying that if the opposition actually comes to power in Venezuela, then this country will in fact become the energy hub of Americas. Machado has also said that all the Venezuelans have rejected Rodriguez, who has been appointed as the interim head, and that the voters were on the opposition side. Now, to give you in fact a brief history on what has happened, Machado has in fact also won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2025, and in 2024 there were elections that were held in Venezuela, and there were reports that in fact Machado's party was winning over there, and the voters were asked to in fact keep a proof, keep a receipt of what they were doing, of who they were voting for. However, then Nicolas Maduro actually came to power, and that's why the opposition states that these were in fact rigged. Let me go across to my colleague Ajay, who is back on the line with us. Ajay, we are looking at Machado, who is saying that she wants to turn Venezuela into the energy hub of the Americas. She is also stating that the interim leader Rodriguez has been rejected by the voters, and the voters are actually with the opposition now.
Yes, it was already expected that, there are possibilities that she will be, the new chief there in Venezuela. And now her statements, which basically are coming, earlier she was, hiding, and now when she came open and she says that I will return home as soon as possible. But she also says that I want to see, Venezuela as an energy hub, and she's talking about the other major project. It means that, that there are certain indication to her as well, and she's expected to be the new face over there in Venezuela. So let's see that what will happen. But definitely these words of Machado and some other indication that really shows that something like that is going to happen in the coming days.
Ajay, stay on with us. So we have another input on this story. In fact, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has said that interim president Delcy Rodriguez is a main ally and liaison with Russia, China, Iran. She further added that Rodriguez could be trusted by international investors. So, Ajay, we are seeing that she has slammed the interim leader. She is saying that she is a major ally of Russia, China and Iran. So, those are some allegations that are coming to the fore.
Yes, especially if you talk about, these three countries, Russia, China and Iran, which doesn't suit to America as well. So, by naming these countries, it means that she wants to convey to the America as well that Machado on, about the LEC, that is something which we're definitely going to be troubling for her as well, because America not only, attacked Venezuela for the oil or something, but it was also for the reason that the recent meeting between Chinese envoy and the president who was arrested by the America of Venezuela. That was something which basically was another reason that America don't want any such country, especially China or Russia or Iran, to be stationed near to the southern America. So that could be a threat in the coming time. So that seems that now the statements are about China, Russia and Iran that indicates that she wants to once again raise this issue that that Delhi having a relation with and agent of these countries.
Right. Ajay, I would request you to stay on with us. We'll require your inputs for another story that we are tracking on this broadcast. However, right now we want to introduce you to the lawyer of Maduro. So, President Maduro's lawyer, Barry Polak, is a prominent criminal defense attorney based in New York City, serving as a partner at Harris, St. Laurent and Welscher LLP. He has taken on high-profile cases involving international figures, including representing the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in negotiations that led to his release from the UK prison in 2024. Polak's expertise in complex federal trials has earned him the recognition as a strategic litigator. Polak has previously defended Michael Krotz, a former Enron accountant, securing a complete acquittal on fraud charges in a landmark corporate case. Polak's involvement in Maduro's defense highlights his affinity for geopolitically charged matters. Polak holds leadership roles in the legal community, including past president of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and the Mid-Atlantic Innocence Project. In Maduro's arraignment, Polak has challenged the legality of the US capture, arguing for sovereign immunity. With decades of experience, Polak is described as a lawyer who lives, breathes and sleeps trials, excelling in courtroom dynamics. His representation of Maduro comes amid accusations of narco-terrorism, where he plans to file extensive motions contesting the charges and arrest bases. Polak's track record suggests a vigorous defense strategy ahead. In addition to the white-collar defense, Polak advocates for innocence projects, For Maduro, he entered an appearance just before the January 2026 hearing, signaling rapid mobilization. His plea negotiations in Assange's case may inform potential strategies and in this politically sensitive prosecution. Meanwhile, Jason A. Richmond serves as an assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York, specializing in the terrorism and international narcotics unit. He is one of the prosecutors handling the narco-terrorism case against Nicolas Maduro, having been involved since the 2020 indictment. Richmond's work focuses on disrupting international drug trafficking networks. Richmond has prosecuted high-profile cases, including allegations against brother of Honduras president for receiving bribes from El Chapo Guzman. His courtroom arguments emphasize connections between corrupt officials and cartels, skills applied to Maduro's charges of cocaine importation and weapons possession. He remains active in major narcotics investigations as well. To discuss this further, joining us on the broadcast is Advocate Ashwini Dubey, AOR, Supreme Court. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. We appreciate your time. A very good afternoon to you. So, when we are understanding this entire trial that is taking place currently in New York, there are obviously, some arguments that are being put to the fore by President Maduro's lawyer, Barry Pollock. He is in fact stating that he is challenging the entire legality of the US's capture, and he is also arguing for sovereign immunity. How are you observing this entire case that is actually unfolding, sir?
So it's a case where basically the Maduro has been kept under the illegal detention. Why I call it illegal detention? Because he is the president of a sovereign country which is not falling under the US law. Number two, the allegations which have been labeled against him nowhere permits the USA to take him and put it under the trial for the court, which is exclusively meant to adjudicate the cases relating to the offences which has been committed within the boundaries of the US. On January 2026, the US Department of Justice unsealed a 25-page superseding indictment against Nicolas Maduro following his capture by the US Special Forces. And where from this US Special Forces got power to capture him, that is unknown to everyone. The entire world is shocked about it. It's an illegal trespass in the sovereignty of another country which has its own laws, own sovereignty, which has not committed any offense within the boundaries of that particular court. Number two, narco-terrorism conspiracy, which has been leveled against him, or he is accused of leading a conspiracy with the cartel of the Sun and partnering with the groups like the FARC, ELN, and the Tren de Aragua gang to ship tons of cocaine to the US. Then in that case, first the US has gone to the international court, and from international court for taking an order, he should have been asked validly him to appear and face the trial. Here the cocaine importation conspiracy which has been labeled against him to import 5 kilograms or more of cocaine into the United States, that's also nowhere from where it has come. That's also not a known thing. And it is completely a gundagardi, or we say illegality or dadagiri of particular the US to capture something else. It's a game of oil, I think. And the third, we also live in a sovereign country where we have a separate rules, separate laws, separate courts, and our court orders are not implemented or not cannot be go beyond the Indian territory's boundaries, because every country has its own sovereign laws. So the possession of machine guns, destructive devices, cocaine importation conspiracy, narco-terrorism conspiracy, and that the trial is absolutely illegal. So I, as a lawyer or as a student of law, I consider is that his detention is illegal. Let's see how the courts of USA deal with it. But as of now, this is one of the case where the entire world is shocked about it. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. Appreciate your time. We are shifting our attention now towards Iran. Iran is witnessing its most serious wave of unrest in 3 years as nationwide protests entered the 10th day today. Security forces have tightened their presence across major cities, and the protests were triggered by the sharp collapse of the Iranian rial and surging inflation. Demonstrations have spread from Tehran's Grand Bazaar to more than 220 locations across at least 78 cities in up to 31 provinces. Crowds have been chanting anti-government slogans and targeting symbols of state authority, making this the broadest wave of unrest since the 2022-23 protests following the death of Mahsa Amini. A large number of students are also participating in the protest. The death toll from the violence during the ongoing protests has now risen to at least 35. Joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Ajay Chandyal with more on this. Ajay, could you give us the details on the latest what is happening regarding the unrest in Iran?
Yes, we have seen that for last, several days these protests are going on in Iran, and this is basically pertaining to the ongoing situation, especially if you see that how, inflation is going up, how the reals rates are going down. That is something which basically for what people are protesting, and the protesters protests were triggered by the sharp collapse of the Iranian, real and surging inflation. Demonstration have spread from, Tehran, Grand Bazaar to more than, 220 locations across the, at least, 7-8 cities in, in the Iran. So that indicates that crowd have been chanting the slogans that indicates that it is against the ruler of the Iran and the present ruler of the Iran, and this is something which definitely this unrest, if you talk about, and this is the biggest unrest for last many years. So that's why definitely the authorities over there, they are also worried what is going to happen. Is there, will there be, we can say that government is going to topple or something that has to be seen.
All right. Thank you so much, Ajay, for all those details on that story. We are turning our attention now towards Bangladesh, where Assam CM Himanta Biswa Sharma has now made a statement on the killing of Hindus in Bangladesh, calling it a cause for concern. He says, and I quote, "Attacks on Hindu people are increasing day by day, making the situation worrying, and their effects could be felt in Assam as well. We need to be cautious and vigilant." Let's in fact listen into that statement.
देखिए, बांग्लादेश में जो हो रहा है हमारे लिए चिंता की कारण बना हुआ है। हिंदू लोगों का ऊपर अत्याचार दिन का दिन बढ़ ही रहा है, तो स्थिति चिंतनीय है और उनका इफेक्ट असम में भी हो सकता है। तो हमें थोड़ा एक हिसाब से थोड़ा सा कोशिश रहना पड़ेगा, स्थिति को निरीक्षण में रखना पड़ेगा और एक बांग्लादेश का हिंदू समाज को हमें साहस भी देना पड़ेगा। देखिए,
Joining us on the broadcast to discuss this further is my colleague Renik Datta. रेनिक, अब जो असम के चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं वो भी इसके बारे में बात करें, जो बांग्लादेश में अनरेस्ट है और जो हिंदू माइनॉरिटी हैं उनको जो टारगेट किया जा रहा है, इसके बारे में वो एक स्टेटमेंट दे रहे हैं।
एकदम देखिए, असम बांग्लादेश का जो बॉर्डर लगभग स्टेट है और इसी वजह से असम का सीएम की तरफ से भी ये पूरा बांग्लादेश का सिचुएशन को लेकर चिंता जताया जा रहा है, क्योंकि अगर देखा जाए तो बांग्लादेश से बहुत सारे लोग असम बॉर्डर से क्रॉस करते हैं और असम का सीएम की तरफ से जो कहा जा रहा है कि पिछले 10 सालों में रिपीटेडली एक प्रूफ असम का जो गवर्नमेंट है उनके पास आया है कि बहुत सारे बांग्लादेशी घुसपैठिए असम में घुसपैठ किए हैं और दूसरी तरफ अगर देखा जाए तो बांग्लादेश का बहुत सारे जिहादी वो असम में है और इसी वजह से जिस तरीके से हिंदू माइनॉरिटीज के ऊपर बांग्लादेश में अत्याचार चल रहा है और हिंदू कम्युनिटी अभी खतरे में है, उसी सिचुएशन में असम को भी अभी सतर्क रहना पड़ेगा। इस तरीके का बयान हेमंत बिस्वा शर्मा की तरफ से दिया जा रहा है और उसके साथ साथ ही बांग्लादेश का ये सिचुएशन भारत के ऊपर भी इम्पैक्ट ला सकता है, ऐसा भी हेमंत बिस्वा शर्मा की तरफ से एक उम्मीद जताया जा रहा है।
जी रैनिक, और जब ये हम पूरे मामले को भी देखते हैं, अब 1 महीने के अंदर 6 मौतें हो चुकी है और सभी हिंदू माइनॉरिटीज़ की, तो ऑब्वियसली ये एक पैटर्न की तरफ पॉइंट कर रहा है।
एक्चुअली देखिए, ये तो एक पैटर्न की तरफ ही इशारा कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि अगर देखा जाए तो बांग्लादेश में हादी का मौत के बाद जिस तरीके से प्रोटेस्ट चल रहा था, उस प्रोटेस्ट के दौरान भारत के खिलाफ में बहुत सारे बयानबाजी हुआ था। उसके बाद हिंदू माइनॉरिटीज को चुन चुन कर हत्या करना, और उसके साथ हिंदुओं के ऊपर जब अत्याचार हो रहा है तब भारत का क्या रिएक्शन रह रहा है, भारत के खिलाफ में बहुत सारे बयानबाजी देना, ये भी बांग्लादेश में देखने को मिला है। तो ये एक इशारा हो सकता है, भारत को उस्काने के लिए भी ये हो सकता है, कट्टरपंथियों का मूवमेंट हो सकता है। दूसरी तरफ अगर देखा जाए तो बांग्लादेश और भारत दोनों देशों के बीच में जो बॉर्डर एरिया है, वो बॉर्डर एरिया भी बहुत सेंसिटिव एरिया है, क्योंकि बहुत सारे एरिया ऐसा है जिसमें वाटर बॉर्डर है, यानी जिसमें कोई फेंसिंग नहीं है। बहुत सारे ऐसे लैंड बॉर्डर है जिस जगह पर फेंसिंग नहीं है। 400 किलोमीटर के ऊपर ऐसा पश्चिम बंगाल के साथ जमीन है, असम के साथ भी बहुत सारे जमीन है जिस जगह पर फेंसिंग नहीं है। तो ये जो बॉर्डर एरिया है, इसको भी सतर्क रहना चाहिए। और उसके साथ साथ ही जो सिचुएशन बांग्लादेश में अभी हो रहा है, उसमें भारत के खिलाफ में जिस तरीके से साजिश बांग्लादेश में रचा जा रहा है, तो वो देखते हुए ही असम का सीएम की तरफ से भी एक चिंता जताया गया है कि असम को भी सतर्क रहना पड़ेगा, और उसके साथ साथ ही किस तरीके से प्रिवेंट किया जाए उसके ऊपर भी ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा स्टेट को। और उसके साथ साथ ही जो भी बॉर्डर लगवा स्टेट है उनको भी सतर्क रहना चाहिए, ऐसा असम के सीएम की तरफ से कहा गया है।
जी, धन्यवाद रैनिक। In fact, now we are looking at some news that's coming in from the national capital. Delhi's Aam Aadmi Party members are holding protests against the rising terror of pollution in Delhi. In an official statement on X, the party calls the pollution crisis a result of the incompetence of the Rekha Gupta government. The AAP leaders and Delhi public also took to the streets and held protests and demonstrations across the city. All right, joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Bhavna Sisodia, who's on the phone line. भावना, ये जो प्रोटेस्ट ऑब्वियसली ले रहे हैं, ये अब ऑफिशियली भी ये लोग ट्वीट भी कर रहे हैं, इसके बारे में कह रहे हैं, सोशल मीडिया पे पोस्ट डाल रहे हैं कि ये जो एंटायर पोल्यूशन क्राइसिस है, ये रेखा गुप्ता जी की गवर्नमेंट की इनकॉम्पिटेंसी दिखाता है।
जी देखिए, बात बिल्कुल सही है। जिस तरीके से अगर दिल्ली की आबो हवा देखी जाए तो कहीं ना कहीं दिवाली के बाद से ही आबो हवा जो है बेहद ही खराब श्रेणी में पहुंची हुई है। कहीं ना कहीं हेल्थ इमरजेंसी लगी हुई है, बच्चों को सांस लेने के लिए कहीं ना कहीं हैवी स्टेरॉइड्स का जो है इस्तेमाल करना पड़ रहा है। वहीं बिगड़ती आबो हवा जो है बच्चों और बुजुर्गों के साथ युवाओं के ऊपर भी असर डाल रही है, जिसको लेकर आम आदमी पार्टी शुरुआत से ही बिगड़ती आबो हवा को लेकर भाजपा सरकार को घेरती हुई नजर आ रही थी। वहीं अब आम आदमी पार्टी का आरोप है कि कहीं ना कहीं भाजपा सरकार जिस तरीके से आंकड़े छुपा रही है, केवल मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन पर ही जिस तरीके से छिड़काव किए जा रहे हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं दिल्ली में हेल्थ इमरजेंसी जो है क्रिएट कर रहा है। और इसी को लेकर जहां विधानसभा की पटल पर आम आदमी पार्टी के विधायक पॉल्यूशन के मुद्दे को लेकर चर्चा करना चाह रहे थे, तो वहीं जब आम आदमी पार्टी के विधायक मास्क लगाकर विधानसभा के अंदर गए तो 4 विधायकों को जो है परमानेंट जो है निलंबित कर दिया गया सेशन के दौरान। वहीं इसी को लेकर जो है अब आम आदमी पार्टी और साथ ही साथ दिल्ली की जनता जो है सड़कों पर उतरकर भाजपा सरकार के खिलाफ प्रदर्शन करती हुई नजर आ रही है और साफ तौर पे कहती हुई नजर आ रही है कि कहीं ना कहीं दिल्ली में बिगड़ती आबो हवा को लेकर भाजपा की सरकार जिम्मेदार है। वहीं जो आंकड़ों का फर्जीवाड़ा भाजपा की सरकार द्वारा किया जा रहा है, उसको छुपाना बंद करें, इस तरीके के आरोप आम आदमी पार्टी द्वारा लगातार लगाए जा रहे हैं। और वहीं अब प्रदूषण के मुद्दे को लेकर आम आदमी पार्टी दिल्ली की सड़कों पे और साथ ही साथ दिल्ली की जनता भी दिल्ली की सड़कों पर उतरकर भाजपा के खिलाफ प्रदर्शन कर रही है।
जी, धन्यवाद भावना आपका हमें इतनी सारी जानकारी देने के लिए। वी हैव सम मोर इनपुट्स ऑन दिस स्टोरी। प्रोटेस्टिंग एट द चंगडी राम अखाड़ा नियर द Delhi Assembly civil lines, Aam Aadmi Party MLA Kuldeep Kumar has said that the crisis should not have come about if the government wants a discussion further. He added, and I quote, "They have pushed the whole of Delhi into pollution. The whole city is suffocating. What the government is doing, they are only caring about who wear masks. They are also stealing and manipulating the data." Let's in fact listen to his statement.
कहाँ चर्चा चाहती है सरकार? सरकार चर्चा चाहती तो आज ये हालात नहीं होते। सरकार चिंता करती तो ये हालात नहीं होते। सरकार की चिंता इस बात को लेकर है कि विपक्ष के विधायकों ने मास्क कैसे पहन लिया, उनको विधानसभा में एंट्री नहीं देंगे। आप विधानसभा के अंदर मास्क पहनने पर एंट्री देते हो। आपने पूरी दिल्ली को आज पोल्यूशन में घोट दिया है। आज पूरी दिल्ली का दम घुट रहा है, बच्चों के फेफड़े खराब हो रहे हैं, बुजुर्गों को सांस लेने दुबर हो रहा है, अस्पतालों में दवाइयां नहीं है। और सरकार क्या कर रही है? सरकार केवल विपक्ष के मास्क पर ध्यान लगाती है, सरकार डेटा चोरी करती है, डेटा मैनिपुलेट करती है। तो सरकार ने आज पोल्यूशन पर जो इतनी जिस तरह से आज लापरवाही दिखाने का काम किया है। मुझे लगता है दिल्ली की जनता को इन्होंने पॉल्यूशन के गर्त में घुसड़ने का काम किया है, उसकी आवाज को यहाँ उठा रहे हैं और ये उठाते रहेंगे। और मैं कह रहा हूं मुख्यमंत्री जी, अगर मेरे मास्क हटाने से दिल्ली का पॉल्यूशन खत्म होता तो मैं हटा दूंगा, लेकिन नहीं होगा। ये पॉल्यूशन तब खत्म होगा जब आप गंभीरता से जिम्मेदारी लेते हुए इस पर काम करने का काम करें।
All right, moving on now to some other stories. The Jawaharlal Nehru University has sought the registration of an FIR over the alleged raising of provocative slogans against Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah inside the university campus during an event on Monday night. The letter written by the JNU administration to the Delhi police states that certain students raised highly objectionable, provocative and inflammatory slogans and are in direct contempt of the Supreme Court. Let's meanwhile, Jan Shakti Janata Dal President Tej Pratap Yadav has also made a statement on the sloganeering against Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Union Home Minister in the JNU campus. He has said, and I quote, "Those who are protesting are misguided. Such words should not be used about the Prime Minister. We want the students not to use such language because the youth are the future of the country." Let's in fact listen into that statement.
लोग प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं, वो लोग नासमझ हैं, उनको समझ नहीं है, ठीक है। और प्रधानमंत्री के बारे में इस तरीके का शब्द का प्रयोग नहीं करना चाहिए। और प्रधानमंत्री क्योंकि एक ओहदे पे हैं, एक पोस्ट पे हैं, तो उनके लिए इस तरीके का शब्द का चयन नहीं करना चाहिए। और हम तो चाहेंगे कि ऐसे स्टूडेंट, ऐसे छात्र के जो नासमझ हैं, जो जेएनयू का हवाला दे रहे हैं, अनपढ़ गंवार टाइप के जो जिस तरह का भाषा का शैली का प्रयोग कर रहे हैं, इस तरह का भाषा का शैली का प्रयोग ना करें। अगर क्योंकि आगे का देश का भविष्य है, युवा नौजवान जो है, इसलिए प्रधानमंत्री के लिए इस तरीके का भाषा का प्रयोग नहीं है। जो कार्रवाई चल रहा है वो कार्रवाई चल रहा है, वो सरकार देख रहा है। स्टूडेंट लोग
All right, so this is the entire issue that is currently unfolding in the Jawaharlal Nehru University. Over here, in fact, we have the letter that has been requested by the university regarding the registration of an FIR. This is for raising of objectionable and provocative slogans outside the Sabarmati hostel in the JNU. In fact, that letter reads that this certain program was organized outside the Sabarmati hostel of the Jawaharlal Nehru University by the students, and this is where these slogans were raised. Joining us on the broadcast is my colleague Javed Hussain with more on this. Javed, ये जो JNU यूनिवर्सिटी की एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, उसने एक FIR की रजिस्ट्रेशन की डिमांड की है, इसके बारे में आप हमें क्या बता सकते हैं?
देखिए, दिल्ली पुलिस को एक शिकायत दी गई है जेएनयू के चीफ सिक्योरिटी ऑफिसर की तरफ से, और जिसमें उन्होंने ये बताया कि साबरमती हॉस्टल के बाहर 35 से 40 तो लड़के थे। वो लोग यहाँ पर प्रधानमंत्री और देश के गृह मंत्री और एमपी स्लोगन उन्होंने दिया था, जिसमें उनकी कुछ लोगों की पहचान हुई है, जिसमें गोपिका बाबू, सुनील यादव, दानिश अली, साद आजमी, महबूब इलाही, पाकिजा खान, शुभम और इसके अलावा कुछ और छात्र हैं जो आइडेंटिफाई हुए हैं। और ये साबरमती हॉस्पिटल जो हॉस्टल उसके पास हुआ था। और जिस तरीके से जो हम आपको बता दें कि 10 तारीख को रात 10 बजे सोमवार को इस तरीके से ये जो पूरा मामला सामने आया, इसमें जो है
धन्यवाद जावेद आपका हमें जानकारी देने के लिए। We are turning our attention now towards some other news that's coming in. A commotion erupted at the Delhi Assembly complex when a man claiming to be a government school employee tried to approach BJP leader and Minister Manjinder Singh Sirsa. Security personnel were unable to spot him, and then the man insisted that he was called by Sirsa, who denied knowing him. The individual has now been taken to the police station for further questioning. So this is the incident that is coming from the National Capital Region, where a commotion had erupted at the Delhi Assembly complex when this man claimed to be a government school employee and had tried to meet with a minister over there. All right, with that we are wrapping up this bulletin, and we'll see you after this very short commercial.
अदरक की हुई कुटाई,
चाय की पतीली चढ़ाई, कैसी बनी चाय?
सिर्फ अदरक से चाय का स्वाद नहीं आएगा।
नहीं आएगा बेटा, चाय का असली टेस्ट MDHT+ से ही आएगा।
लौंग, हरी इलायची से भरपूर MDH मसाला।
मसाले सच MDH।
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़x का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
Maduro chained and dragged to court. Foreign president charged with drugs. Trump vows full wrath of justice. But what do the laws actually say? As Maduro appears before New York City court.
History repeats itself, quite indeed. In this case, the United States of America, this age-old adage keeps coming true. Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx Explained. This is not the first time that the US has gone into Latin America and captured its leader for drug trafficking. Nearly 36 years ago, the US invaded Panama and arrested its ruler Manuel Noriega under the operation called Just Cause. Now, under President Donald Trump, US forces have captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife and have launched a large-scale strike on the country, including its military bases under Operation Absolute Resolve. In 1989, the US government invoked self-defense as a legal justification for its invasion of Panama. But what is the justification today? Is the US allowed to enter another country and capture its head of government? Can Maduro's trial in the US hold water, really? Let's understand. Let's dive into the arguments given in these 3 points. What does the international law state? What does the United Nations state? And what is the US government saying? According to international law, the US does not hold the power to capture the working head of any country. Sovereign immunity in international law is a legal doctrine that protects a sovereign state from being sued in foreign courts without its consent. This principle is rooted in the notions of sovereign equality and non-interference. According to the United Nations, Trump's capture of Maduro is a clear violation of the UN Charter signed in October 1945. A central provision of the agreement is Article 2.4, which states that states must refrain from using military force against other countries. Let me quote what this UN Charter article actually says. All members shall refrain in their international relations from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. Jeffrey Robertson Casey, former president of the UN War Crimes Court in Sierra Leone, has said, and I'm quoting here, America is in breach of United Nations Charter. It has committed the crime of aggression, which the court in Nuremberg described as the supreme crime. It's the worst crime of all. The only two expected exceptions to this rule is number one, the UN Security Council approval, and the second is self-defense. It is evident that the UNSC approval was not something that Trump sought before taking Maduro. Moreover, the self-defense narrative is indirectly being used by the US authorities. It is said that it is a part of a military operation that ensured law enforcement. US officials have accused Maduro of backing drug cartels that Washington has designated as terrorist groups and claim that these organizations were responsible for thousands of US deaths tied to illegal drug use. The US Justice Department had already indicted Maduro during President Donald Trump's first term. A superseding indictment unsealed on the 3rd of January adds fresh charges of narco-terrorism and cocaine importation conspiracy. On your screens, you can see the South American leader being escorted by heavily armed law enforcement officers to a courthouse in New York, having been transported by helicopter and armored cars earlier. Now, what are the charges against Maduro? Maduro is being charged alongside his wife, his son, and 3 others. Maduro is indicted on 4 counts. Number 1 is narco-terrorism conspiracy. The second is cocaine importation conspiracy. The third is possession of machine guns and destructive devices. And the fourth is the conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. Maduro is facing the same charges as an earlier indictment brought against him in Manhattan Federal Court in 2020 during Trump's first presidency. But the question is, will Maduro's trial hold water in the courts? Under the US Constitution, Congress has the power to declare war while the President acts as Commander-in-Chief. However, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has confirmed that the Congress was not notified before the Venezuelan operation. In addition to lack of congressional approval, the critics say that drug trafficking does not meet the international legal threshold of an armed conflict that would justify cross-border military force. While the US authorities could play with the self-defense narrative and wrath of the American justice, President Trump did not maintain the story. In a press conference to address the strikes, the US president accused Caracas of stealing US oil interests, following it by saying that the US will be running the country for some time. Listen in.
Going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious.
In the court, the United States is going to argue vigorously that drug trafficking is a scourge and it's killing many people. But a lot of international law experts have been looking at this, and there wasn't even clear evidence that those drugs were trafficked from Venezuela, let alone that they were governed by Maduro in any sense. One of the legal pillars that ensures that Maduro's trial would certainly happen is a 1989 Justice Department opinion authored by then Assistant Attorney General Bill Barr. In the memo, Barr argued that even if a foreign leader is seized or brought to the United States in a way that violates international law, that does not automatically invalidate the criminal case against them once they're before a US court. This reasoning, rooted in earlier Supreme Court rulings, essentially separates the legality of the arrest from the court's power to try the accused, meaning the prosecution can proceed regardless of how the defendant arrived on US soil. When it comes to congressional authorization, there have been past instances where presidents deployed US forces and ordered the use of military force without the Congress authorizing the same. For example, President George H.W. Bush ordered the US troops into Panama in 1989 to protect US citizens and bring former President Noriega to justice. President Clinton ordered the deployment of US forces to Haiti in 1994 and US participation in NATO bombing campaigns in Bosnia and Kosovo in 1995 and 1999. President Barack Obama ordered the US military to participate in the bombing campaign of Libya in 2011. So as long as Trump's administration can justify that deploying US forces and extraditing Maduro was necessary to protect American citizens or interests, it's apparently fine. Under international law, the use of force inside another country may be lawful if it is carried out with the valid consent of that state's legitimate government. If the United States maintains that it recognizes an alternative Venezuelan authority as the country's lawful government and that authority has formally requested US assistance, then Washington can argue that the US actions are not intervention but defensive support provided at the invitation of the sovereign government. Let's listen in to what Marco Rubio said in this matter.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice.
The crux of this argument is that the 2024 elections in Venezuela, it was held to choose a president for a 6-year term beginning on 10th January 2025. The incumbent Nicolas Maduro ran for a third consecutive term, while former diplomat Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia represented the Unitary Platform, the main opposition political alliance after the Venezuelan government barred leading candidate Maria Corina Machado from participating. International monitors, including the US, called the elections neither free nor fair, citing the Maduro administration having controlled most institutions and repressed the political opposition before and during the election. This could be the strongest legal argument of Trump's administration. In Panama, in the Noriega case, the US had already recognized another leader as Panama's legitimate president. With Venezuela, Washington does not formally recognize any alternative government, even though it calls Maduro the de facto but illegal ruler. Whether courts will apply the same logic to Maduro, whom the US recognized for years before withdrawing recognition in 2019, remains an open question. Nicolas Maduro's case risks setting a complex precedent in geopolitics and international law. It blurs the line between legitimate law enforcement action and unilateral regime removal, raising questions about whether powerful states may now feel emboldened to physically seize foreign leaders they accuse of wrongdoing, even without host state consent or UN approval. Supporters might argue that such actions close impunity gaps when formal diplomacy fails. Critics, however, warn that the move could weaken long-standing norms on sovereignty, non-intervention and due process, potentially opening the door for similar actions elsewhere. Conflicts such as China-Taiwan, the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Palestine conflict could escalate. As of now, Maduro's case is being heard. However, time will tell what the law holds and how the law will unfold. With that,
Maduro chained and dragged to court. Foreign president charged with drugs. Trump vows full wrath of justice. But what do the laws actually say? As Maduro appears before New York City court.
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज़ का मीडिया स्कूल। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का कोर्स आपको मौका देता है देश के दिग्गज एंकर्स के साथ काम करने का। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल में आप बेहद नजदीकी से देख पाएंगे किस तरह से ITV नेटवर्क के दिग्गज पत्रकारों की टीम दिन रात खबरों पर काम करती है। इस कोर्स के दौरान आप सीखेंगे एंकरिंग की एक एक बारीकी उन एंकर्स के साथ जो देश को रखते हैं हर खबर से बाखबर। ITV नेक्स्ट मीडिया इंटरनेशनल स्कूल का ये कोर्स आपके एंकरिंग स्किल्स को करेगा इतना सशक्त, मजबूत, जिससे आप बनेंगे पत्रकारिता की दुनिया का वो चमकता चेहरा जो दुनिया देखेगी और पसंद करेगी।
Before Trump invaded Venezuela, there was Iraq and Afghanistan, Cuba, Bay of Pigs, Korea, Vietnam. The justifications are interesting, as United States makes justifications for Caracas.
the U.S. bombardment of Venezuela and the capture of its president Nicolas Maduro follows a long history of interventions in South and Central America and the Caribbean over the past 2 centuries. Hello and welcome. You're watching Explained. I'm Devika Devan. Today we're diving into how the United States has historically justified military interventions and coups from the annexation of Texas, the Cold War era, to more recent conflicts. Trump's pressure campaign is the latest chapter in a long history of U.S. intervention in the Caribbean basin, rooted in the 1823 Monroe Doctrine, but fully realized in the 20th century, ostensibly to protect U.S. interests and counter communism. But since the mid-19th century, the U.S. has intervened in its continental neighbors not only through economic pressure but also militarily, with a long list of invasions, occupations, and in the case most closely resembling the current situation, the capture of Panama's dictator Manuel Noriega in 1989. American soldiers have been deployed abroad almost continuously since the end of the Second World War. The best-known foreign interventions are Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq. They were large, long, and costly. But there have been dozens of other such deployments, many smaller and shorter, for purposes ranging from deterrence to training. Taken as a whole, these operations have had a decidedly mixed record. Some, such as Operation Desert Storm in 1991, which swept the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein's forces out of Kuwait, largely succeeded. But others, such as those in Somalia, Haiti, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and elsewhere, were disappointments or outright failures. Covert actions helped topple democratically elected governments and usher in military dictatorships in countries such as Brazil, Chile, and Argentina. But overt U.S. military operations have historically been confined to closer neighbors in Central America and the Caribbean. First, The annexation of Texas, a former Mexican territory, sparked border disputes that led to a U.S. invasion of Mexico, with American troops occupying the capital, Mexico City, in 1847. The war ended only with the signing of a treaty in 1848 that forced Mexico to cede 55% of its territory, an area encompassing what are now the states of California, Nevada, and Utah, as well as parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Wyoming. Then Cuba, shortly after taking office in 1961, President John F. Kennedy approved a covert plan to overthrow Cuban leader Fidel Castro, who had grown increasingly aligned with the Soviet Union since seizing power 2 years earlier. The secret operation, originally developed under the Eisenhower administration, relied on a force of about 1,400 CIA-trained Cuban exiles who were expected to seize the Bay of Pigs on Cuba's southern coast and spark a popular uprising against Castro. Instead, the Bay of Pigs invasion ended in disaster. Castro ordered some 20,000 troops to the beach, forcing most of the US-backed invasion force to surrender. More than 100 were killed. The incident became a major embarrassment for the United States. The Bay of Pigs convicted Castro and Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev that the United States would attempt another invasion of Cuba. Castro convinced Khrushchev that he needed Soviet nuclear weapons in Cuba to deter further US aggression, precipitating the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. The resulting confrontation of the missiles brought the US and the Soviet Union at the brink of nuclear war before Kennedy and Khrushchev worked out a delicate compromise that averted a direct conflict between the two superpowers. The US received control of Puerto Rico and occupied Cuba until 1902, when an agreement granted the US Navy perpetual control of the Guantanamo Bay. US troops later occupied the island from 1906 to 1909 and again from 1917 to 1922. After Fidel Castro's 1959 revolution, the CIA backed the failed Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961 in an attempt to trigger an uprising. The US justified it as a preemptive strike against communism spreading in the Western Hemisphere. Then there's Haiti, under the pretext of stabilizing the country and protecting US business interests after domestic unrest that led to repeated overthrow of Haitian leaders. The US invaded Haiti in 1915, taking control of customs, the treasury, and the National Bank until 1934. When an attempted rebellion threatened the dictator Francois Papadoc Duvalier in 1959, the CIA worked behind the scenes to secure his survival, viewing him as an ally in containing the influence of Fidel Castro's Cuban Revolution. In Brazil, although it ultimately never intervened, a US naval task force was positioned off the Brazilian coast to intervene in case there was resilience to the military coup that overthrew the democratically elected left-wing president João Goulart in 1964. In the 1970s, the CIA and the FBI directly advised the repressive apparatus of dictatorships in countries such as Brazil, Chile, and Argentina in the persecution and assassination of dissidents under what became known as Operation Condor. Next is the 1989 invasion of Panama. The US military backed the separatist movement that led to Panama's break from Colombia in 1903, and after independence, Washington retained significant influence over the Central American country. In 1989, President George H.W. Bush ordered Panama's invasion by about 2,700 US troops to capture the dictator Noriega, a former CIA ally who had been indicted on drug trafficking charges in US courts. Hours after the strikes, in which an estimated 500 civilians were killed, along with about 300 Panama soldiers, the US installed the declared winner of the election, Guillermo Endara, as president. President George H.W. Bush justified it as protecting 35,000 Americans in Panama, combating drug threats to US society, and upholding treaties after Noriega declared war on the US and his forces killed a US Marine. Noriega surrendered after seeking asylum in the Vatican embassy. Listen in to what Bush had said.
Last night, I ordered U.S. military forces to Panama. No president takes such action lightly. This morning, I want to tell you what I did and why I did it. For nearly 2 years, the United States the nations of Latin America and the Caribbean, have worked together to resolve the crisis in Panama. The goals of the United States have been to safeguard the lives of Americans, to defend democracy in Panama, to combat drug trafficking, and to protect the integrity of the Panama Canal Treaty. Many attempts have been made to resolve this crisis through diplomacy and negotiations. All were rejected by the dictator of Panama, General Manuel Noriega, an indicted drug trafficker.
That sounds familiar, right? Well, Bush justified his surveillance, deportation and torture regime by claiming it was all required to keep Americans safe. Trump used this Bush-era classic to justify the invasion of Venezuela. In Vietnam, the US involvement escalated from advisors to full war, justified by the domino theory. If South Vietnam fell to communism, Southeast Asia would follow, threatening US allies and global stability. Presidents from Truman to Johnson cited containing Soviet and Chinese influence. The 1964 Gulf of Tonkin incident, where North Vietnamese boats allegedly attacked US ships, provided the trigger. Congress passed a resolution authorizing force, though later reports questioned the attack's severity. The war ended in 1957 with North Vietnam's victory after massive US losses. The 2001 invasion of Afghanistan was a direct response to 9/11. The US justified it as a self-defense act under Article 51 of the UN Charter. Al-Qaeda, harbored by the Taliban, attacked America. President Bush demanded the Taliban hand over Osama bin Laden. When they refused, Operation Enduring Freedom began with airstrikes and special forces aiding anti-Taliban groups. It was framed as dismantling terrorist networks to prevent future attacks and not regime change initially, though that's what it led to. The 2003 Iraq War was justified primarily by claims of weapons of mass destruction. President George W. Bush stated Iraq possesses and produces chemical and biological weapons and is seeking nuclear weapons, posing an imminent threat. Vice President Cheney said there is no doubt Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction to use against allies. Secretary Powell told the UN Iraq had mobile bioweapon labs and ties to Al-Qaeda. The administration argued regime change would democratize the Middle East, prevent terrorism, and enforce UN resolutions that Iraq had violated post the 91 Gulf War. Listen in to what George W. Bush had said.
I take the threat very seriously. I take the fact that he develops weapons of mass destruction very seriously. I remember the fact that he has invaded 2 countries before. I know for a fact that he's poisoned his own people. He doesn't believe in the worth of each individual. He doesn't believe in public dissent.
But no WMDs were found, leading to accusations of intelligence failures or exaggeration. Bush later said that it was about freedom from tyranny. Over 4,000 US troops died. The war lasted until 2011. As Defense Secretary, Hegseth has called the recent Venezuela operation the exact opposite of Iraq. In Iraq, US troops spent blood and treasure for decades with no economic gain. In Venezuela, it's about freedom, security, and capturing Maduro on drug charges. Listen in.
We spent decades and decades and purchased in blood and got nothing economically in return. And President Trump flips the script. He says through strategic action, we can ensure that we have access to additional wealth and resources, enabling a country to unleash that without having to spend American blood. I mean, this was a bold and audacious move.
In Syria, US interventions since 2014 have focused on countering ISIS, justified as self-defense against terrorism. Obama authorized airstrikes without UN approval, citing humanitarian needs to avert catastrophe from Assad's chemical weapons. Trump continued aiding strikes on Iranian-backed militias. Libya's 2011 intervention was under UN Resolution 1973 to protect civilians from Gaddafi's forces during the Arab Spring. Obama said it was the right thing, but regime change ensued. The justification given was that it was prevent massacres and support democracy. Recently, the US strikes in Nigeria targeted ISIS affiliates, justified as counterterrorism in partnership with Nigeria. Trump called it a Christmas present to stop attacks on Christians, but Nigeria emphasized it's not religious, stating it was a joint operation against extremists threatening stability. The United States has historically offered various justifications for its invasions and support for coups, from Cuba's Bay of Pigs, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Panama, Iraq, Syria, Libya, to recent strikes in Nigeria. For Venezuela, U.S. justifications centered on Maduro as a narco-terrorist, threatening U.S. security through drugs and instability. History repeats itself.
Before Trump invaded Venezuela, there was Iraq and Afghanistan, Cuba, Bay of Pigs, Korea, Vietnam. The justifications are interesting, as United States makes justifications for Caracas.
इसको तो फुटबॉल खेलना भी आ गया और इसे तो पियानो बजाने भी आ गया। चंद्रयान भी उतर गया चांद पर हमें अब तक टेस्टी राजमा बनाना नहीं आया।
बिना MDH राजमा मसाला के टेस्टी राजमा कैसे बनेगा?
स्वादिष्ट राजमा के लिए MDH राजमा मसाला।
क्या स्वादिष्ट राजमा बनाए?
MDH।
अगर आप बनना चाहते हैं एंकर या फिर आप में है जुनून एक तेज तर्रार न्यूज रिपोर्टर बनने का, तो आप ज्वाइन करें ITV और इंडिया न्यूज Newsx का।
Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx and I'm Shivani Singh. Various videos have showed thick black smoke in the sky after a gas pipeline leaked at a well in Andhra Pradesh's Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Konasina district, managed by the Oil and Natural Gas Corporation's production contractor Deep Industries Limited, which sparked a fire on Monday. The oil well is located in Irusumanda village of Konasima's Razole area. The incident occurred while repair works were underway using a work-over rig after the well had temporarily halted production. During the repairs, a powerful blowout released a massive volume of gas mixed with crude oil, which shot high into the air. Local officials said that the leaked gas soon caught fire, with flames erupting at the site, alarming both villagers and authorities. Thick clouds of gas and smoke spread across Irusumanda and the surrounding areas like a dense fog. Visuals from the spot indicate the intensity of the blaze, underlining the seriousness of the situation. The incident occurred at the Mori 5 oil well in the Rajole area around 12:20 p.m. on January 5th, when a pipeline leak led to the release of a gas. The gas ignited about 20 minutes later, triggering a major blaze at the site. Authorities evacuated Irusumanda, Guddapalli and Lakavaram villages, which are located within a 4-kilometer radius of the well. According to the ONGC, around 600 people were shifted to safer locations and 2 schools were closed as a precautionary measure. The Mori 5 well is operated by Deep Industries Limited, an Ahmedabad-based oil and gas services company working on behalf of the ONGC. The firm secured a Rs 1,402 crore contract in 2024 to enhance production at ONGC's Rajmundra asset. Now, preliminary information suggests that production at the well had been temporarily halted for repairs. During the process, a sudden explosion occurred, causing gas and crude oil to gush out under pressure. The escaping gas soon caught fire, resulting in towering flames near the well. As a precaution, the district administration appealed to residents to switch off electrical appliances, avoid using gas stoves, and refrain from using electronic devices. These announcements were made through loudspeakers in the nearby areas. The intensity of the flames from the Mori 5 oil and gas well blowout near Irusumanda village in Malikapuram mandal of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Konasima district has slightly abated on Tuesday morning, a day after the incident occurred. Officials said that the height of the flames has visibly reduced compared to Monday. According to NGC officials, around 23% of the flame intensity has come down as oil and gas pressure is gradually getting exhausted. However, the blowout continued for the second consecutive day on Tuesday, and the fire has been burning continuously for nearly 20 hours. Joining us live on the broadcast is my colleague Naresh Akenna with more on this. Naresh, what is the situation on day 2 of this blaze? We are getting reports that it's still continuing to burn over there. There is still a massive fire, but what is the on-ground situation? Give us the latest updates.
Yes, Shivani, the ONGC blowout that caused unrest in the Konaseema are still not under control. Yesterday, the flames are rose to right height of nearly over feet of 100 feet, and however, compared to yesterday, the intensity of the flames seems to have decreased slightly. The ONGC personnel are working on hard to bring the fire under control. The ONGC blowout is in Iskumanda in Malikapuram Mandal. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Konaseema district is still under control. However, the intensity of the flames appears to have decreased somewhat. ONGC personnel are continuously carrying out the water for umbrella process using the firefighting stop the Bluetooth system, and the noise has decreased compared to yesterday. Along with the flames and the black smoke is spreading due to the intense heat on the flames, and it was impossible to get close yesterday. And the situation improved slightly the morning, allowing officials to get closer to the fire. Officials expect the experts are situation improving to the future by afternoon also. And due to the blowout, approximately 550 people have taken shelter to the relief centers. And officials have made all necessary arrangements to ensure that those who are relief centers and do not any difficulties in electrical, the electricity has been restored to the villages of Iskumanda, Lakkavaram, and Gubbalapalam and Chittapalli and Batalanka villages. Nearly these 6 villages are evacuated by the local disaster management authorities, and nearly they are taking the precautions. ONGC officials are also saying one thing only: we are taking the precautions. No, nothing is happened like that. Yesterday, nearly 100 feet over the height of the flames are rose to the high. That's why they are taking the preliminary precautions, and now the totally flames are under control, and nearly 6 villages are evacuated by the officials also, Shuman.
Right, Naresh, I'd request you to please stay on with us. Meanwhile, let's in fact take a look at the sequence of events in terms of the ONGC oil fire and what exactly happened there. So let's take you through what happened and how it happened exactly. We'll give you a bit by bit analysis of what exactly happened during the ONGC oil well fire. So this is the area, you can see it's near the coast. This is the area where the ONGC oil well Mori 5 is located, and this major fire broke out during the re-drilling operations at Konaseema, Andhra Pradesh. So this fire actually occurred when they were trying to re-drill, and this operation was currently underway over there. And those visuals on your screens, the incident occurred at 12:20 p.m. on Monday during the production enhancement work. So what they were exactly doing, they were production enhancement work was currently ongoing, and it broke out at 12:20 p.m. The well, which was previously abandoned, was reactivated by ONGC's contractor Deep Industries. So this was in fact done by a contractor, Deep Industries, and this was the re-drilling work was undertaken by them. This well had been previously abandoned, and the technical teams were performing perforation activities at the depth of 2.7 kilometers. So they were performing these operations at a depth of 2.7 kilometers, and then there was a sudden surge in pressure when they were doing these drilling